Hey everybody, welcome to the channel, True Crime Stories. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like button and subscribe so you can hear more. Thanks for stopping by. I've decided to go back through some of my very early older videos and repost and re-edit some of them that were made early on at a time when I didn't really have the best software and I was new to this video channel and at this. I was new to editing videos and hadn't really honed the skill just yet, so to speak. And I hope I'm doing better now. But some of my older videos I wanted to remake just to kind of make them just a little bit better. And this is one of those. Missing, murdered, unidentified, but not forgotten. Christina Lynn Carter, age 3, lived with her single mother, Janet Gail Calhoun Carter, in Hueytown, Alabama. Her parents had only recently gotten a divorce about 2 months prior, and her father was seeking full custody of Christina. It is thought that Janet went into hiding with Christina because of the custody battle that was about to erupt. September the 17th, 1973 was the last time that anyone can remember seeing Christina or her mother. On October the 7th, 1973, a nude body of a woman was found inside a duffel bag on Clingman's Dome Road in Bryson City, North Carolina, in the Great Smoky Mountains. Her nude body was found inside of a duffel bag, and she had been suffocated. Authorities believe she had only been dead a few hours when her body was discovered. So let's jump back to the fact that she had not been seen for 3 weeks. Could Janet possibly have given the child to someone for safekeeping? It took the FBI and local authorities almost a month to identify the Jane Doe as Janet Carter through her dental records and x-rays. This means that for 1 full month, the police and the FBI had no idea that there was even a child involved here, so they were not searching for a child. I don't know if they went to the local news and showed pictures of this woman or gave a description, but they said that no one came forward and that there was no reports of a missing person with her, with her features and such. So nobody was coming forward. Eventually, her mother came forward with a description of her daughter and said that she was believed to be in the Smoky Mountains. Let's jump ahead. On the popular website Web Sleuths, a user named Marty Lee says she is Christy's cousin on her father's side. After doing some digging on the internet, I was able to locate some more information, and I believe that she is who she says she is. She made an interesting post regarding Janet, and I'm going to copy it here so you can read it in its full context. Now this next part is from the cousin of this girl. Forgive me for being sketchy about some things, but I'm trying to protect the privacy of my family. Christy's father is my cousin. He is waiting to give DNA samples. I'll be sure to post it here when that happens. Plans are to contact Christy's biological grandmother in another state for a sample. Now, I don't know if they're giving samples just because all of a sudden they decided, let's give our DNA samples so we can put them into GEDmatch or some of the genealogy databases in the event that she's still alive and somebody seeks her identity. Or they have found a body or some bones or something like that, and are hoping to get a match. I don't know, that isn't mentioned here, but that's why that they were given their DNA samples. She goes on to say, "We have always felt like we knew who killed Janet. At the time, she was dating a married man and talked to her co-workers about being excited about going to the Smoky Mountains with him. I can't go into all of the details, but at the time we just all assumed that that was where she was. When her body was later discovered there, we felt for sure that he was involved. We do know that he was in the area the morning she died, but his wife provided him with an alibi. He died a couple of years ago, so we will probably never get to the story of what happened that night and that morning. What we don't know is, if he was the one who killed Janet, what did he do with Christy? Did he kill her and dispose of her body? Did wild animals get to her body? No clothing or anything was ever found. Police never had any reason to believe that the child had been there where the mother was found. Did someone take her and give her to someone? This is a theory. One theory is that the mother took the child and gave her to someone that she trusted to babysit. Or one theory, also on Reddit, one person asked the question, is it possible the father discovered where she was at and went there? But keep in mind, the married man, was known to have been in this area the night before her body was discovered, and that morning as well. I don't know if he was staying in a local hotel or what the story is. They don't go into detail about that. No one was looking for Christy for over a month because no one knew the identity of Janet. Once her identity was discovered, they began to ask questions, but by this time hotel rooms had been cleaned out, dumpsters had been cleaned out, and no one really knew. This man supposedly had a cabin, and he was letting her stay there so that she could avoid this custody battle, which doesn't make any sense because eventually she was going to be, having to come back and face the judge. It's unfortunate to believe that a wife would give a false alibi for a man, knowing that a woman had been murdered and that the 3-year-old child was missing. Is it possible that she was also involved in this murder? At this point, no one knows what happened to Christina. If she was murdered, her body has never been discovered. No clothing or any other identifiable remains have ever been found. A woman came forward many years later and said that she believes she may be Christina. Testing, it was discovered that she was identified as Suzanne Marie Savakis. Is it possible that Janet was hiding out? Several newspapers that covered Christina's disappearance described her mother, Janet Gail Carter, as a troubled young woman. At the age of 24, Janet was on her second divorce and going through a bitter, ongoing custody battle with her ex-husband. At the time, Janet was employed in a low-paying job in an insurance agency in Birmingham, Alabama. She was involved in a romantic, secretive relationship with a married man whose true identity was never confirmed. But now the police did speak to this man because his wife provided him with an alibi. People that she worked with are reported to know who he was because she was bragging about how he was going to take her away on this trip. He died a few years after Christina's disappearance. Christina was never found, and her mother was suffocated and stuffed into a duffel bag naked. Janet Carter did not want to give up custody of her only child to her ex-husband of 5 years, but she knew that the court would side. Think about this for a second. She was married to this man for 5 years. They had just divorced. That would have made her 19 at the time that she married him, and he was her second husband. So I don't think she had any other children with prior to him. It says her only child. Now, an article came up very recently, August 17th, and this is from Tennessee Missing and Unsolved. It gives a little bit more detail, but not much, but it just says that the murder of Janet Gill Carter and the disappearance of her 3-year-old daughter, Christina Lynn, is an unsolved mystery that's been haunting those close to this case since 1973. Janet Carter was born with the last name Calhoun. She was a 24-year-old recently divorced single mother and was originally from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. She had moved to Birmingham, Alabama, where she was employed at an insurance company until just before her disappearance. Now, in some articles, I understood that the man that she was involved with may have been her employer, but that could have been a misunderstanding in the article. But in this article, it says that old newspaper headlines read that Janet was a troubled woman. She'd gone through a troubled divorce, and her ex-husband was suing her for custody of the little girl. And in other articles that I've read, her family said, and friends and co-workers said, that she was very scared that she was going to lose her daughter. That even her lawyers told her that the judge was probably going to rule in his favor. So everybody just kind of thought she went on the run when they hadn't seen or heard from her. They thought she'd taken the baby and ran, and she could have been in hiding for a certain period of time. Now, what wasn't headlined at the time was the last person to see Janet and Christina was a married man who was a police officer from Hueytown, Alabama, named Jerry Riley. Now, this man was apparently the married man that Janet was said to have been involved in a romantic relationship with. The newspapers left his name out at the time, and one falsely reported him as being her fiancé, and others said that he was a special friend. Now, this could have been where the confusion came in, that some people thought that this was someone she worked with or worked for. But now, some of her friends and maybe even some of her family knew this man's identity because they did tell the police about him, and the FBI went and spoke with him. He told the FBI that the last time he saw Janet and Christina was on September 17th, 1973, when they were at his home in Hueytown, Alabama. He said he left the house, and when he came back, they were gone. Janet and Christina had visited her mother, Lucille Coker, in North Carolina in August. They went there from August 13th to September 11th, 1973. They left when Jerry came to get them. So now Jerry came to her mother's house on September 11th, 1973, and got her and the little girl. And they were supposed to be going back to Alabama. Now, she had told her mother that she was going back there to sell a home that she had gotten in her divorce. And her mother thought that it was possible that Janet was planning on bringing the baby and coming back to North Carolina to live after she sold the house. According to her family and friends, she was supposed to return to North Carolina, but she never made it. Janet's mother said that she wasn't really sure that Janet was 100% sure coming back to North Carolina, so when she didn't return and she didn't talk to her for a while, she thought maybe she did go into hiding. Maybe she was staying with this man. Maybe he had set her up someplace to stay or something. She just hadn't heard from her daughter and didn't know the facts. But her mom never heard from her again after she left her home in September of 1973. Now, about 3 weeks later, on October the 7th, 1973, some tourists who were visiting and taking pictures in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park in Tennessee. So anyway, they were taking pictures and they found this bag. They opened this bag up, not really knowing what it was, thinking it was somebody hiking or camping or fishing, maybe had dropped it. And inside the bag was the body of a nude woman. Her wrists were tied across her chest with tape, and her feet were tied with a cord. She had plastic bags covering her head and her feet. Now, after police identified, it took a month before she was identified as Janet Carter. And that was because nobody knew that she was in the Smoky Mountains for sure. But she had told co-workers, as I stated in another part of this article, or this video, that she had told some of her co-workers, and I think she had even told her mother, that she and this man were going to the Smoky Mountains together. She had told someone that he had a small cabin there and that he was going to let her stay there. And some people believe that maybe she was there hiding out because she didn't want to face court and face losing her daughter. So, because nobody knew about the little girl, when the body of this woman was found, they didn't know that this woman had a child. And it took them weeks to figure out who she was. And her mother finally came forward and said she had read an article in the newspaper about the police finding this body, and she contacted them and told them, "My daughter, I haven't spoken to her in weeks. She mentioned coming to the Smoky Mountains." And they were able to determine that this was Janet. But then the question was, where's the baby? Where's Christina? It was determined that Janet had only been dead for a few short hours when she was found. Now, I don't know how, they don't go into details here in this story, but they do say that the police were able to figure out that this man was in the Smoky Mountains the night before the body was found. They didn't ever charge him with anything. They started focusing on trying to find this little girl. Investigators searched the area, but they didn't find a child. They didn't find a body of a child. They didn't find any clothing or anything like that. The search was hindered from the start by the belief that Janet and Christina were in hiding. So nobody was really reporting her missing and saying, my daughter and my granddaughter are missing. They thought maybe she was in hiding, so they just were kind of keeping quiet about it. Nobody knew that anything was really wrong until Janet's body was identified. By that time, almost 2 months had passed since anybody had seen her and the little girl together. Now, some people claim that Janet and Jerry were supposed to make a trip to the Smoky Mountains around that time. And, like I said, Jerry's wife provided him with an alibi. What happened to Christina and where she and Janet were during the weeks leading up from the time she left her mother's home in North Carolina and by the time her body was found, nobody knows. No one has reported having spoken to her. And this man claims that she was at his house and she just up and leaves. So, she had to have been on foot because he came all the way from Alabama to North Carolina to get her. I asked this question, and I don't know if they did an autopsy, if they were able to determine this or not, but could it be possible that she was pregnant with this man's baby and he didn't want that in his life? He didn't want to, divorce his wife or to have that in his life? Or could it have been that she was targeted for the child the whole time? It's not unheard of. Neither of this has ever been solved. Christina Lynn Carter was 3 years old. She was blonde-headed and blue-eyed, and her family called her Christy. She would now be 55 years old, and it's possible that she's been alive this whole time and has been raised by someone as their child, with a different change of name. Her father and members of his family did submit DNA. I don't know about her mother's family. They submitted DNA in the event that either remains could be found or a human woman out there, 55 years old, maybe has put her DNA into a database and may get a hit. Or maybe she has children or grandchildren and they may put their DNA into a database and get a hit. All these years have gone by with little to no information. This case remains unsolved. If you have any information at all, please contact the Hueytown Police Department at 205-491-3587. Now, just let me throw this in here as a thought, a side note of my own. If this man was a Hueytown police officer, and I know he's probably he has died since this took place. This has been 50 plus years ago. But is it possible that Hueytown Police is the best person to contact? I think I would probably contact the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation or the Alabama State Police or something like that. She was going to go there and hide out. Why would she tell anybody? You know, why that doesn't really make any sense. And she wasn't telling her co-workers, according to them, that she was going there to hide out. She told them that she was going there on this weekend, you know, this vacation with this man. I don't know if she told them that she was taking her daughter with her. The problem the Bryson City Police Department and the FBI faced was identifying the remains. There were no identifiable marks on Janet, such as tattoos or anything like that. Her purse, driver's license, and no other belongings were in the bag with her. No active missing persons reports fit her features, and all authorities could do was wait until a family member came forward to identify her body. I'm assuming that they had gone on to the local TV stations, because there are some stories from Kingsport and Knoxville newspapers, but put out a story about this woman's body being found and maybe gave a description. But eventually, Mrs. Lucille Coker of Winston-Salem, Janet's mother, came forward and identified her daughter. She said that she had at least 1 week phone call with her daughter, but had not heard from her. She contacted the Great Smoky Mountain Police Station. She told them that she believed her daughter to be in the Smoky Mountains. When they asked her if she could provide them with x-rays and dental records, they were able to identify Janet Lynn Carter as the murder victim. And now they were made aware of the disappearance of the child. See, the police had no idea. When they were in the newspapers posting reporting this stuff, they weren't saying we're looking for a missing child, because they didn't know about that. So Wallace Estelle was an FBI agent who worked on this case, said that he believed Janet was alive and in the park the morning hours of October the 7th. But sometime during the early morning hours, she was murdered. And the boyfriend was reported to have been in the Smoky Mountains that morning as well. The family fully believed that this married man was involved in her murder, and that his wife helped to cover this up by giving him a false alibi. After all these years, the truth may never come out about this. I believe that they let a killer walk. Of course they did. He was in the area, was known to be having an affair with her. Did they search the cabin? Was there ever really even a cabin? I don't know. But I just wanted to share that story, and if there's ever any updates on Reddit or any of the other websites, I will do an update. Thank you for watching.